What's up, everybody? Trix Ridiculous back with another video, and in this one we are going to talk about what is next for Marvel's Avengers and what we can expect for the future of the game. Before we do, be sure to like and subscribe if you're new. Those are great ways to support the channel, and I really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and High Ruler actually came out with a video earlier today that touched on a lot of what I've been thinking. And him and I usually see eye to eye on a lot of topics in this game, and I'll link his video in the comments so you can watch that. But I wanted to tack on my thoughts as well, and or kind of say it in a different way. So I really do think that, with all the delays we've been seeing, delays in the roadmap, bug fixes not working or taking forever, I do think that overall, behind the scenes at Crystal Dynamics, they have shifted a lot of resources back. They've scaled back quite a bit because of how poorly the game is doing overall in the commercial market, right? Since the game is not a smash hit, it never was, right? And it's not making them all the money that they dreamed of. They are not putting as much back into the game. I'm sure they had big plans, big ambitions when the game, pre-launch, when they thought they were really selling a monster here. And now that has not come to fruition, I think they're scaling it back. Now, that said, I still think that they have a lot of content kind of thought up and on the back end planned, and that they will continue to support the game. But those updates, I think they're going to stretch it out a bit more, and those updates will take a little longer due to the lack of resources that they're getting in. Okay, now many games do continue on and on for years, getting periodic updates without necessarily keeping pace with the absolute most successful live service looters like your Destinies, etc. And at the current course, this game is pretty much looking like that. It's very possible this game turns into something like a DC Universe Online, or like a Warframe or something like that, where it's not necessarily a front of the line 5-star AAA game, but it's just one of those games that's always hanging in there and just keeps, every so often you hear about an update that it gets, something like that. Now, I've said this in previous videos, but when we do get a roadmap, do not expect any more content by volume than what we got in 2021. We got, a number of different events, which I don't know how much I'd call those content. We got Hawkeye, we got Black Panther with his associated raid. I do consider that kind of one thing. And then we got Spider-Man on PlayStation, which is kind of more of a tack on. Other than that, I mean, there really wasn't much more in 2021, and I don't expect, I'm not going to go crazy and assume they're going to put in 5 raids and 7 characters and all that stuff. I would really not expect too much more. I would say 2, maybe 3 characters, which is what we got if you're counting Spider-Man. 1 raid, 1 kind of major expansion, and then hopefully a few pluggy, events or end game pieces along the way. Now, that said, on that same coin, I really do hope they can focus on the right content. Okay, I've said it before, this game was sold as a live service experience. That means a continuous focus on the end game and how players can push their characters forward in a living and constantly updated world. It does not mean one-off story campaigns every 6 months that add no meaningful addition to core gameplay rituals, okay? If that's the stance they're taking and that's what they plan on doing, this game should have absolutely been a story-driven, single-player experience, and then they could have tacked on a few DLC stories onto it. But if they're gonna take the mantle of a live service, they need to focus on end game and what will kind of change, what additions will change the ritualistic activities that players go in daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, to play. All right, now the last point I'll make is that this game has really boiled down player base wise to the absolute hardcorest of hardcore players, and the addition of War for Wakanda and its associated raid both have proven that they are not bringing back any new players with any old players, I should say, with new content. Even if players did come back, they were very momentary spikes and then they dipped right back down. Right. So, it really is at this point, this game, and you see it in, video game news media everywhere. I mean, this game has such a bad rap in the overall video game community. The developers take L after L with this game, but those who continue to play it are still those diehard fans who do still love the game and have fun playing it because it is still a fun game, right? But we're seeing that, just putting in a story campaign, no matter how much you hype it up with these voice actors, it's just not bringing anyone back. Right, and it's not attracting any new players. And then the raid, right, the biggest complaint prior to or when the game had first launched was there was no end game. They finally put in an end game with the raid, and everyone was just kind of like, meh. It wasn't going to bring anyone back. And then even those who did come back, unfortunately, had a terrible experience with bugs, and then they left again immediately. So none of that has really worked for them, right? But the one thing that has proven to work is making the game free to play, okay? And I've said this as far back as a year ago. Now we saw during the free to play weekend a few months back that the Steam concurrent player base jumped to over 10,000, okay? Basically half of its all-time peak. It's currently sitting, as I write this, at about 300 players or so. For some reason, Crystal Dynamics still thinks this game is worth $15 or whatever they're selling for. Realistically, you could probably buy a used copy of this disc at a yard sale for $1. But there is a major difference between a $10 game and a free game. Even if you think the game, even just for the story, I recommend this game at $10, $15, whatever. Even for just the story alone, it's definitely worth, $15. But it doesn't matter. People aren't going to pay it, especially with the rap that this game had. But you make it free, people are willing to try free, right? So free will attract a lot of players. Now, there may be some contractual obligations that we don't know about to still charge for the game, whatever. It's possible. But as soon as Crystal Dynamics is able, I would highly recommend that they seriously consider making this game free to play, because the core gameplay is fun when it works, and a lot of players who maybe showed some interest in this game, they like this genre of RPG, they would probably like it if they actually gave it a shot and tried it, because the content is pretty good when it does work, but the players got to get their hands on it to be able to do it. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Just some thoughts about how they could really turn this around, where they need to focus, and kind of what makes the most sense for the studio. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know down below what your thoughts are and what you see for the future of this game. That's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.